Chris Jericho had a major health scare earlier this year as he opened up on the Talk is Jericho podcast, talking all about his major health scare that he had. He had blood clots in his lungs. It's called a pulmonary embolism. Apparently, this is the same thing that Rowdy Roddy Piper died from. So definitely serious shit. It is life-threatening. Apparently, Jericho was out on tour overseas, over in England, and started becoming very short of breath on stage. And take a listen to this clip from Chris Jericho as he kind of breaks down a little bit more detail of what happened.
So in Chester, I was really feeling like this is terrible. I can't breathe. There's a door right by the stage that leads to the outside. And I said, I'm just going to walk off stage. I can't take it. But I finished the show. I was talking to my doctor at home in Tampa who said, this could be blood clots. You could have some blood clots. And then my doctor said, you have to go to the hospital like now. About an hour later, I get a call from Dr. Hatim who said, you have blood clots. We can tell by the blood that we drew. You have to go directly to the hospital. Now, pretty scary. Now, keep in mind, I'm in London. I'm thousands of miles away from home in a foreign country, and now I have to go to a hospital.
Yeah, that's scary shit. Like, Chris Jericho was, I don't know if he was that close to dying, but I mean, maybe that close, right? Like, people die from that shit. But I guess, people die from fucking appendicitis and that kind of shit too. So, but definitely a serious health risk. He was hospitalized. He was close to being put on a ventilator at some point. And, he had mentioned in the podcast that scared the shit out of him because, especially through the COVID period, a lot of people that were put on ventilators, that was it. That was the last time that they were alive. Much like Brody Lee. Brody Lee was on a ventilator right before he died. So scary shit. Jericho was fearing for his life. He goes in depth in the whole podcast is him just telling his story from, when he noticed something was wrong all the way to getting back on his feet. He addresses his weight issues. He talks about how he purposely put on weight to be bigger in Japan, bulkier. I don't know. I mean, he did. Because when he went over to Japan, he was significantly bulked up. And as he describes it, he just didn't really think much about it. He just never lost the weight and just kind of kept going as is. But while he was going through this blood clot situation, he went and had all of his other medical stuff that he's been putting off checked out. And he found out he was too fat. Surprise, surprise. The internet could have told him so. He addresses that, actually. And hey, I'm not judging. I mean, right? So I'm sure, most of you listening are fat fucks. So we're wrestling fans, right? We're fat schlubs in our mom's basements, right? Hating on everything. You stupid. That's the stereotype. So no judgment on Jericho's weight, but certainly, he got himself in tremendous shape. Apparently, he went to like an actual fat loss clinic and got it done professionally, and he looks like a fucking $1 million, just chiseled for his age. But it's scary that all of this happened off radar. And he had mentioned, I don't know where this ever came out, actually. I must have missed wherever this was talked about, but he said Tony Khan kind of accidentally leaked it, like he mentioned it or something, and it wasn't necessarily intended to get out. Or Jericho said maybe he was going to at some point, but once Tony mentioned it, he decided it was kind of time. Probably in a press conference or something, I'm sure. But Jericho decided, it was time to tell the story. And all this was happening. All of us just saw fat Jericho. And we're just like, Jericho's a fat, lazy fuck nowadays. Can barely move in the ring. And he's slower. And he's showing his age. And he just needs to wrap it up. And this just kind of goes to show that you never fucking know what's going on with people, right? And this can translate to any number of things, you know. Don't take things to heart and don't assume anything with people, you know. You don't know unless you know. Certainly it's easy to judge and be like, oh, Jericho is fat and looks like shit and he's slow and blah, 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 blah. And we all did it. We all made that judgment. But I'm just saying, I guess this is a good way to kind of realize that there could be more going on that we don't, there's more to it than meets the eye. You know what I mean? So Jericho was in a very serious health condition. Well, I shouldn't say that, because that's not what caused his fatness. That's just what caused his recovery. So, but even just being slower and out of breath, and he said he had to kind of, like the match that he worked with Santana and Ortiz, where they just never tagged him in, was designed that way on purpose so that he could still be on TV but not physically have to work. And he still has to be on blood thinners and all that to this day so that he doesn't get reoccurring blood clots. And that shit's scary because those can travel up to the brain and cause issues there. They can travel to the heart. Anytime it's in the lung area, man, that shit can just spread. There's so many veins coming in and out. So, very scary. And he must have felt pretty alone just being overseas too, you know. But apparently money, he talks about he basically had like private doctors and concierge, medical concierge services and all this shit, you know, the best medical treatment money can buy. But it's good to hear that Jericho, he said he's 100% now, clean bill of health, and that there's nothing, you know, pressing anymore, that he just needs to kind of watch his weight and take his blood thinners and all that shit. But scary shit, man, and you never know. And Jericho's very, you know, I'll just kind of leave it like this. Jericho's a very lively, he's a very alive person, right? Like when he's a presence. He's very with it, and he's very in your face sometimes. And like, just to think about, like, he could just be gone, just gone. Like no signs of like, oh, Jericho's really kind of old man Jericho's slowing down and he doesn't seem with it as much anymore, that kind of stuff. But he's like, no, he's just fucking firing on all cylinders, you know, right there with us doing all these podcasts, and easily could have been gone in like an overnight. And we'd be talking about Chris Jericho's sudden passing. So cherish people, man. You know, not just, you know, our entertainers, but people in your life and stuff. Shit happens quick, and also just be aware that you don't always know what's going on, and not to judge too much. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up here. But props to Jericho. Go listen to that full podcast, get the full scoop, and I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.